Hey guys, welcome back to Detroit Garage. On this episode, we're going to put the transmission on Jimmy here and see if it even fits. So I think it's a number 4 housing on the Buda, but not entirely sure. So it looks to be a number 4. I measured it up before and I think that's what it is. So take this one off and then fit it on the little Jimmy and see how it fits. And then if it fits, we'll put it back in the chassis and size up the engine position and whatnot. So I'll start yanking these bolts out, pull the transmission off, and then put it on little Jimmy. So it should fit pretty nicely. I forgot that shaft comes off the end. Pull the clutch off now and measure it up, or measure the flywheel sizing. So this is the original 1965 clutch, still running strong. So, of course it's rust pitted and everything, but all I did was took a grinder and cleaned it up, and it works perfect. So there it is. I have to adapt my other flywheel to match this one for depth and everything. So probably stack another flywheel. Anyway, I'll pull that flywheel off and then we'll have a look at it. And measure it up against the Detroit. So just measuring up the depth, it's 1 inch from the flywheel to the housing. And across here is 15 inches for number 4 housing, and the Detroit's 15 inches. So this transmission should bolt right on. A fun fact for you guys, being this is 1965, it doesn't have a full flow oil filter. It's only got a bypass filter here. So the engine takes oil pressure from here and pumps it through this 5 micron filter back down here, and it dumps into the block. And when Deere made this engine in 1958, it never had a full flow either. It had a bypass filter, but I've modified it and put a full flow in here from a 1968 reefer engine. So there you go, guys. So I'm gonna pull the flywheel off and see if it'll fit the hub of the Detroit. And if it does, I might just drill out these holes to match the Detroit. If not, I'll think of something else. But just try that out and have a think on that. I might get lucky. Oh, ha. Wow. All right. No, it's not going to work. So, a different way of building things. They put the seal face for the rear seal on here, but Detroit does it differently. So I don't think that's going to work. I'll measure up the hub anyway and see, but and then I see another problem. Occasionally this engine would hit a spot on the flywheel, and the starter wouldn't engage. And there it is there. Once in a blue moon it would do that. All right, we're back on the little Jimmy. I'm going to pull the flywheel off and take my dyno adapter off, and then we'll look at the flywheels and stuff. Put the Buda transmission on and see how well it fits. Right now it will fit if I just bolt it on, but I want to have this flywheel off so I can have a think on it. So you can see it's a totally different setup. So I've got an idea for that flywheel. I'm gonna probably use the Buda flywheel and stack it in here. So I have to go use a friend's lathe, turn down that other flywheel, and then press it into here, and then bolt it on. Anyway, a thought. I'm just having to think on this. That fits like a glove. Just let it go. Okay. All right, fits pretty sweet. Of course, the angle's got to change slightly here, but it's almost in its final position. I'll now see how well the rest of the items fit on the forklift and how much clearance there is. Right now, there's clearance for everything, but we'll see how much this area intrudes into the seat and whatnot. I've got it set up so that that steering rod just misses the oil pan, and I'd like to drop it down a bit further. If I do that, I'll have to cut the oil pan and change it. But I made the oil pan, so it's not a big deal to take it off and hack it up. So I've got it sitting off that cross member 1/4 of an inch. And there's about 3/8 of an inch of clearance between the steering rod and the oil pan. But if I do this, oh yeah, that's still okay. That clears. But the first test is a success. I think this is easier than fitting the 453T in my F350. There's lots more room in this. So you could see about 1/4 of an inch on that cross member. So I'll shave some material off the cross member and sit this down a bit closer. All right, guys, we're just mocking up some of the items here. The seat, radiator, seeing what clearances we have. I've given myself about a 2-inch seat lift, and I can reach the pedals and do all the things I need to do. Not ideal, but push comes to shove, it may need a seat lift. So I'm going to find another inch on the bottom, and then maybe the valve cover, I can get an inch out of the valve cover. So I'll take the valve cover off, take the exhaust pipe off, yeah, and have a look at that. But the clearance, the rest of the clearance is pretty good. I did find an issue down at the steering arm here. The oil pan is rubbing on the steering arm. So I'm going to shave that oil pan and weld it up. But the rest of it looks pretty good. Just have a think on this stuff and then proceed with a solution. I know this is going to interfere, so I'm going to change the neck on here and put a different thermostat housing on there. All right, pull the valve cover off and have a look at putting the seat back down and see what that does. I can get a 1/2 inch out of this valve cover, but I really want to leave that as a last resort. So I'll find more room on the bottom before I start cutting up the valve cover. Okay, we'll try that. There's not a lot of room, so I'm going to pick away at the bottom here and get some room down there. So I'll shave that cross member a little bit to drop it down another 1/2 to 1 inch, and then shave the oil pan. That corner needs to be shaved off to fit the steering rod. Yeah, so I'll show you guys those flywheels now that they're off the engines. Get a good look side by side and see what you think. So I pulled an old 253 crank out to fit it up to the Buda, and nah, that's a no-go. There's a lot of work to be done to that flywheel to make it work on its own. So the next idea is to take this flywheel, put it in a lathe, and then cut it back so that it fits in here. So machine this piece and that into one new flywheel, and then bolt it into here, and that'll fix it. Actually, there's already, oh, that's, so yeah, that'll fix it. So I think that's what the plan is. The dimensions are identical width-wise for these two flywheels. So I'll pass that by my buddy and see what he thinks, because it's going to be his lathe I'm using, and I think that'll work really well. Even Loctite it in and then bolt it down. It'll never move. Get it balanced at the machine shop, and it's as good as new. And even get it refaced, you know. Like I said, I gave this a light sanding. The clutch, look at that. Like, the lettering's still on that clutch face. Pressure plate is the same. It's pretty nasty, but you know what? It worked really nice, to be honest. There was no chutter in the clutch, and you'd never know it had a clutch like this in it. So it'll outlast me easily. So that's what we're going to do, I think, is do that. Yeah, that'll work really well. There's about a 1/4 inch, half an inch difference in depth. So I'll set up the depth from the flywheel housing face and measure everything up, and then go down to Chilliwack and cut this on my friend's lathe, and then get it machined. Well, actually, I can do the face on his lathe. I can reface this on the lathe, make it nice and smooth, and then get it balanced at a machine shop, and it'll be like new. But very happy with the outcome so far. Other than the machining, it's pretty straightforward swap, I think. So, coming together. Well, there you go, guys. That's the first check of the transmission on the Detroit, and sizing everything up. Yeah, it fits pretty good, to be honest. I'll try to get this seat down another inch or so, and that'll come in line with the rest of the rig. It'll look decent then. Get all the linkages set up. The transmission's in its pretty much its original position, so we'll keep it like that so I don't have to adjust a bunch of linkages. But worst case scenario, yeah, I'll keep it in the same position, and that way I don't have to adjust the linkages. I was thinking of shifting the engine forward a couple of inches, but I'm not so sure about that. Well, there you have it, guys. Thanks for checking in, and we'll catch you on the next video. Take care.